Hey, what's up, everyone? This is David Greenspan, and you are listening to the Mindshare Podcast, a proud member of the Industry Syndicate Media Network. Additional podcasts are available at industrysyndicate.com and mindshare101.com. This week's episode is sponsored by Kit's Keep in Touch Systems. This is episode 23. So my guest today entered the world of real estate sales in 1989. He spent many years as a top producing agent with a national brand, became a partner to a brokerage in 2005, was part of a management team that brought the Better Homes and Gardens real estate brand to Canada in 2011, and has now settled in to his favorite role as broker-owner along with his wife Maria by his side to develop and support his agent's growth. He implemented testimonials and reviews for his office before it became popular with Google and Amazon. He was an early adopter of social media platforms when many brokers and leaders thought it was a fad. His name is frequently mentioned in REM Real Estate Magazine as a broker and industry leader. His two latest announcements, partnering with Zillow, based search engine Monster Zillow, and second equally significant, the launch of voice search on smart tool devices. He was the first in Canada to launch home listing search using voice search on Google Home and Amazon Alexa in partnership with US-based VoiceSetter Pro. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Nelson Goulart to the Mindshare Podcast. Now, please note that the record button took about 3 minutes to start working. Okay, who am I kidding? We realized about 3 minutes in that we forgot to click the button. What are you going to do? But every week, my goal for this podcast is to leave our listeners walking away with new little nuggets that they can use to build mindshare. So everything I just mentioned sets a really good stage for our topic today. For starters, though, I asked Nelson, and I sort of framed it with the fact that he's been doing this business since '89. And with that, he's seen many ups and downs in the industry, including in the early 90s when the rates were through the roof. And I'd say that it's quite clear he is a survivor. So the first question that I had asked him, which we pick up about halfway through his answer, was, so what does it really take for an agent to survive in today's industry?
Into bullpens and working them and guiding them one-on-one on how they can grow. Last year, where the market retracted in Mississauga, our agents grew their business because of the individual coaching groups that we do, the things that we do individually with them, the open door policy. My people know I'm here all the time. So the broker going forward today, they have to be involved in the success of their agents. If they're not involved, then they're not in a true partnership. They're just filling space and renting offices.
And it's amazing because, you said something right there. There's a lot of those trainers, a lot of those people that get up on stage. And I mean, this is look, I got to put myself in those shoes. I get that opportunity to be one of those people. But one of the things that I've really found, and I guess where I push back against the industry a lot, and for people that know and they follow, I mean, I certainly try to tell it as it is because I believe in what I'm saying. And I've had too many conversations with folks like yourself who truly understand what's going on in the biz. And even when you sit down, you speak to the individual agent, you go, well, where's it really coming from? It's like I was just on the phone with somebody before we got started today, and we were talking about it. We were joking about, trying to find direction, let's call it. And from finding direction, we realized we went to the squirrel. We didn't go to where we knew the path was. Even though when we look back at the past 365 days, we both knew where because like when I said, where has your business come from over the past 365? He goes, Dave, you know the answer, right? So I don't even have to tell you. All I'm trying to now do is retell it to people so that people will listen to it. And so when you go back to those trainers and everything else, yeah, all these brands have it. But I think that a lot of people are getting caught up with the big, bright, shiny object these days.
Totally.
Going, let's implement, and hey, let's go there. What we were just talking about before, we got some big news that broke yesterday. We talk about the Remax thing. We talk about Redfin. And I'm throwing it out there. I think, hey, as a brand, Remax has done some wonderful things to certainly tout themselves as being the biggest and the best out there. They've said it. That said, what they tried to do was now implement technology because they saw some big, bright, shiny object, and they said, let's go and do it. And then they realized it was pushback. Now, there's a lot of back-end fundamentals and different things that broke into that relationship as to why it came together and why it fell apart. But when we look at just high-level, surface level, and we come back to the comment you made about that, most people are chasing that bright, shiny object.
Well,
Oh,
it's true.
I'm going to go do that. I don't even know how much it costs. Oh, but Nelson's doing it, so I'm going to do it. And well, it's just going to work for me because it's working for him. But it doesn't work like that.
Well, that's true. And what's happened is this the new part of the industry that's entered that people are still struggling, including brands, is this lead gen part of it.
Yeah.
And everybody's scrambling to get their piece of lead gen. And we have our internet response team here that we use at our office, and it's a tricky thing. And from a brand perspective, it becomes even more difficult. But I also think that is an example, but it's not restricted to them, because I think all the brands are struggling with that right now. Is technology is moving faster than the brands can keep up with it. The brands used to go to events, conferences, they'd meet a provider, they'd say, okay, I need you to do my websites. Here, give me 500 of them, done. They come back home and it's all done. But now there's outside players who are bringing some very sophisticated artificial intelligence into the game, the Redfins, the Zillows, those players, and they're dealing with budgets that are unrestricted. If they need more money, they're going back to the markets for it. The brands are restricted to what they're charging on a monthly fee and the royalties they're collecting. So they can't just go back to another pot of gold to collect all this money that they now need to compete in technology. But it does raise the question, is should they have been in that race to begin with? And we'll see where that's going to take us going forward. But I don't think it's so restricted to just what Remax did with it. They did what they tried to do to provide something to their agents. But sometimes when you run too fast, you trip over your feet. Yeah. And it's okay. They got back up. They'll spin it. They'll do what they do very well, and they'll move on from this. It will have no impact. But it also showed how much of an impact the grassroots now have. Social media has given a voice to their followers, their agents of all brands, including ours, that when something goes wrong at the top or does not meet what they want, they have now a voice, a very loud voice that they never had before.
When you look at the fact that they go out and they spend that money, they can go back and they can go to the wishing well and get more of it. What about the numbers? What have the numbers told us about the success rates around this stuff? I mean, I get the fact that technology's there. We get the fact that being integrated with technology is important. We get the fact that if you're not, you feel like you're going to be lost, or at some point you will be lost. I got it. So now you got the tech company ABC who's going, hey, okay, we're here. We've got this cool tool. You go, wow, that's great. We got to integrate. They go and do this cool tool. ABC now says, oh, we need a little bit more dough to do, this other advertising campaign or this other sponsorship so we can get more eyeballs, so that those eyeballs could buy in. But has ABC ever really proven the actual bottom line to say, look, we're making people better? And in that same breath, I say it like this, where you go, even if it's not a new player in the game, but it's a tech company that partnered up with the real estate company to provide a service, a product. Okay, cool. So the real estate company wants to offer that out to their agents. But again, is that tool, has it really been proven? Or have we just got a lot of people sitting around a boardroom table that go, hey, well, if we don't keep up, we're going to miss out. So we better try to keep up. So let's integrate that. Well, hey, agents, look what we have. We've got this cool little app now. Look what you can do. Have we proven this to the agents yet?
No, and people who are making decisions in some of these boardrooms don't have that knowledge and experience. And quite honestly, even to us in the trenches at the broker level, trying to figure it out and how to guide your ship through all of this maze of tunnels, it's not an easy one. But I'll tell you, it's a far costlier mistake when you're not paying attention to it and letting it drive you. And I think that's why we're seeing so many brokers now looking at this industry and saying, hey, I'm almost 60. I'm done. I'm beat up. We've seen more change in the last 4 to 5 years than probably the previous 15.
Yeah.
Everything is changing. Everything is up for grabs and everything's evolving. And I like change, but I've had to fasten my seatbelt and follow along with what's happening.
Okay, so now, but it then comes back to the system, and it comes back to the real ROI, because I think everybody's really doing it to make some money, right? And why we get up every single day. I mean, we can say, yeah, we love what we do. We love what we do. What else would we do in life? I've joked about it many times. I got a big fat Harley at home. I got 2 beautiful children. I got an amazing wife. I love to play hockey. I'll find out what to do in life.
Yeah.
if we're doing it to make money, let's get to the bottom line. So, I mean, when it comes to agents, again, you get what's going on out there, Nelson. Where are agents getting the bulk of their income from on a regular basis? Would it be people they know, people they don't know? What's your take on that, or what has been your experience out there with that?
Well, getting back to the talking heads, I'm one of those that, having been on some of these circuits, is like you see these people talking about where business comes from on stage in the U.S., and that to me wasn't enough. And then I watch some of the conferences here in Canada, and I'd say that's not enough. And I think from a grassroots level, a broker today has to know specifically where his business is coming from. I was fortunate because when we went to the testimonials and ratings and reviews program, Real Satisfied, one of the questions they asked online, because I want my agents to focus on their business, I'll find the data, is one of the questions they asked on the survey is, how did you select our agent? Where did you come from? And even to this day, the overwhelming response is that it comes from past clients, repeat and referral. And
drop the mic.
And quite honestly, we do one to two transactions out of 10 coming in from online, which it was probably not bad, but it's still not the bulk of the business that we get. Yet people want to spend 80% of their budget on what gives them 10% of the returns.
Thank you. I was just about to go there. So when we talked back to a dollar factor and the comment I just jokingly made about not wanting to work anymore, which is kind of a joke, but it's not really. But when we go on that and we say, okay, cool. So we're going out there to make money, yet we're spending this much money to get that type of return, when this is where we're really like, this is the business we're getting over here, and maybe we're not even focusing. So do people need to be spending as much money as they are out there advertising to try to get business, or do they just need to refocus and have a proper system? Like, what should they be doing every day to generate more business?
Well, there should be a clear goal. I always, when my agents come to me in the beginning or someone who joins us, I always put up a blank sheet of paper. I said, what are you doing right now to generate business? And, I tried this or I did that, but there's no business plan and no action plan on what they have to do on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly activities to keep them on track to achieve their goals. By the time we finish, there's a plan, there's the newsletters, the emails, the thing, and that is where the broker has to take the time to sit down and work with them one-on-one, because people have different budgets, they have different knowledge of the industry, and there's still pushback, even though you're showing people the stats and the return that you're getting from those things. I had someone in the other day, all he wants to do is lead gen. He hasn't done any lead gen. He hasn't done a single deal in lead gen in over a year, spent thousands of dollars, has done 2 deals. And I asked him, where did your 2 deals come from? And he said, they're people I know and past client. And I said, okay, so what are you doing to focus on them? He goes, I don't want to focus on them. I want to lead gen. I just want to focus on lead gen.
It doesn't make sense to me. Why?
But what's even scarier is how common this is. They're looking for that, bright, shiny thing, and it's not. And I'm not saying there aren't teams out there that aren't cranking out business on the lead gen.
We know there are. Sorry. Yes, we know there are.
But very few compared to how many are looking.
Right. And this is, you've heard me say it many times, Nelson. This is what I rip on every single day. And look, I'm not taking away from, I've got buddies that have businesses that are purely focused around helping realtors generate leads online. And I think these guys, my buddies, are brilliant. They're geniuses. They know exactly what they're doing. Like, they're kick-ass and their stuff works. But they will tell you the same thing, that they can only get you so far. Any of us can only get some, you can lead them to water, you can't make them drink it, right? That's exactly what we'll say, and that's where it comes from. So there's only so much there. So I will always circle back to, how much money do you have to get this thing done? How much grind are you going to put into it? How much hustle are you really going to bring to the table? And like you said, what does that long-term plan really look like? Because I think that's the biggest deal, at least when I'm talking to a lot of people, is, okay, well, I'm doing. What next? What comes after that? What does that plan look like? And I'm going to tell everybody here, for me, within our Mindshare challenges and everything else, we lay out that plan. But I will say, it's boring. It's monotonous. It's redundant. It's consistency, though. And we know no matter what you do in life, consistency is what actually takes us to the next level of what we want. And whether it's working out, quitting smoking, business, it doesn't matter, right? That's about consistency. So when you get to that point where you're like, you know what? I can't take it anymore. I am bored out of my mind doing this. You know what? For me, I'll go and play hockey. I'll go and hang with my kids. I'll jump on the bike and go for a ride. Or maybe it's like go to the beach for 7 days and get your head out of your phone, right? But when you come back, you got to realize that the things you're supposed to be doing are the boring, redundant, monotonous tasks that are just part of what we do in life. And the people that survive are the people that realize they need to be doing it consistently.
Yeah, and it comes down to two things basically in our industry, and it's simple, but it's hard. And people go, well, how can it be simple and how can it be hard? I said, because the things you really need to do to be successful in this business is not rocket science. Did you send out your newsletters? Did you make your 4 calls a year? Did you do your client appreciation events?
Yeah, but Nelson, if I'm doing that, I don't think I'm doing enough. Like I just, it's not enough. I need more business. I need a deal today.
Well, no, I know. And then you've got people who are, and then it's hard. The second part to that equation is it's hard to do it consistently because it may get boring. It may get repetitious. And you have to believe in the process. Some of the people will try it for a couple months and it's like planting a seed. They plant the seed, they put it in the sun, they put a little bit of water, and it's like, how come I'm not getting fruit from this tree? It's a month later. It takes time for it to grow, right?
That's right. That's the thing. It takes time. And I believe that that's the beauty. I mean, I know for myself doing it for the length of time I've been doing it. Again, where you've been at in the industry, it's you can look back now and be able to see that. And I think a lot of the new people getting into the biz, they don't have the look back. It's just not there yet for them. And they also haven't got the patience to wait for that. Mm-hmm. Right. And again, that's a big problem with these things for sure. But it's that I think causes some of the differentiators there around how they go after their business. And then 2-3 years later, after they spent a lot of money, they start to realize where it's actually coming from. And yet there's still going to be some people like you just mentioned who go, yeah, I get it, but I still want to go here. And you're like, I'm not understanding you, right? Because I think a lot of the tech, and this is perfect because I want to bring something else up with you here, but I think a lot of the tech has provided a breeding ground for laziness and complacency, right? That if we spend money on the tech, then I don't have to get out of my pajamas today, right? I can look at my computer, I can be on my couch, I can cultivate my leads, and as long as I put them on this drip campaign, I don't even have to talk to people.
Yep. That's 100% accurate. Yeah. And unfortunately, too many people run their business that way. And you can't. You've got it. We're face-to-face type of industry. These are families. These are their largest investments. You're going to have to meet them in person. You're going to have to talk to them. These are first-time buyers who are nervous about the whole process. I don't ever worry anymore about technology overtaking us because I've come to the conclusion that we're a people business.
We are.
We're not chips. We're not a pizza, as you talk about. We're not, commodities like that. There's going to be that. Because here's the reality. If we were going to be obsolete, we would have been already.
It's a good point. Tech's been around for a long time now. If we were going to be pushed
out of this, we would have been already. So we have a place in the process. I think it's just important that we understand where that place is and not to hide behind computers. And that's something, too, that a lot of the newer agents come in. They come in with their tech and they think they can bypass. Nothing will substitute for meeting and talking with that family. Or those calls or in person. That's still what's going to cement it down. And by the way, if you're going to bother building this client for 2, 3, 4 years of this family and working with them, don't drop them after you've sold them something.
You mean the whole cold turkey thing? Like, I'm done with you. I don't need to see anymore.
Yeah.
You mean I can't just walk
totally
away?
Boggles my mind.
But I won't just get the referrals anyways if I do that?
No, and it's like there's this and the industry keeps telling us those numbers over and over. Yet, what is it, 78% or 80%
of remember their agent's name?
Would use their agent again, but 20% of agents only follow up with them, which is a tremendous opportunity for agents coming in.
Absolutely.
At parties or stuff, people would say to me, I'm using my agent such and such. And I say, okay, how's that working out for you? Have you talked to them? Well, no. Do they stay in touch? Well, no. I actually haven't heard from them since we sold the house. And it's like, oh, okay. So would you use them again? And they go, well, they were nice guys, but you don't see that connection. Whereas to someone who follows up and they say, hey, my agent's such and such, he does a great job. He stays in touch. He looks after our family, even gives us market reports, gives us CMAs, even though we're not doing anything, keeps us informed. And it's like, there's the contrast between the two. Which one do you want to be?
Well, then it comes back to people going, well, people always ask me why I make so much money on a deal. And again, let me be clear and understand in saying to everybody, I personally do understand where those dollars end up going. So again, that big thing, it ends up looking a lot smaller once you put it in your pocket. I got
Absolutely.
that. That being said, perception out there to people becomes, but you're making a lot of money. So now it's, well, there's this thing of, yeah, they're just going to use me. This whole assumption thing I talk about, they're going to use me or they know I'm in the business but why didn't you call me? And it's like, well, what did you do to earn all that money or that deal, whether it was no money? Okay, let's even take the money out of it, forget it. But what did you do to earn it?
Yeah.
Great point you just made of why aren't you following up? And I talk about this a lot with the cold turkey thing. Everybody needs to remember your moment in time to get that referral is the minute you sign that piece of paper with the homeowner. It's not when they move in the house and the moving truck is moving the big screen in there, or you show up with the big screen to go, hey, look at me, congratulations. No, you're done. It's over. Your moment now it's over unless you do the right things. But your moment was when you put pen to paper, when everybody goes out there, goes, I just bought a house. I'm so excited. When are you moving? 3 months from now. Who was your agent?
Mm-hmm.
It was Nelson Goulart.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, was he good? Oh my God, he's the best. And then all of a sudden, Nelson shows up again tomorrow to go, hey guys, I know we just did that yesterday. I'm sure your wheels are spinning. What can I help you with today? And people are like, oh, we're good, we're okay, but thanks for checking in.
Absolutely.
You have not left them cold turkey, right? And trying to quit anything cold turkey for anybody out there, it's not easy. So you haven't left them cold turkey. Now you're setting yourself up for that because people are going to ask who's the realtor. When they move in, they're asking, how's the house? The party's about the house now.
And there's something else to consider here. The human being by nature is a social creature. Would you agree?
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
The reason in the early days we were tribes and we've always stayed together, we're a social creature. So are those consumers. They develop a bond with you and a connection with you if you've done your job right.
Right. And
they feel slighted, even if it's not known, but unconsciously that, how come he's not coming? How come he never talks to us anymore? About us?
That's where I brought up the money thing. Okay, it's that's why I brought it up because you make all that money and now it fast forwards to like, well, why didn't you call me the next time? Well, where did you go?
Exactly.
Right. Where did you go? And that's you said it bang on. We're social by nature. So there's two things to that. One is let's always remember that you're going to affect somebody here and somebody there. When you mess up just slightly, you're going to turn somebody's perception. That's a strike against you. Now, when it comes to social media, well, let's remember, it's social media. Mm-hmm. We need to be social, not trying to be transactional all the time on this media. That's the way to leverage it. It's not, again, I'm not knocking the ads and everything else, but there's got to be strategy. And if you haven't got an organic game that is flying, mm-hmm. don't expect anything you're doing from a dollars and cents paid perspective to change your world. Nelson, I want to sort of kind of switch gears here.
Okay.
I want to bring something up because I think this one's an interesting one, and I know this alone could be like a full day's worth of a podcast, and I know there's a lot of people that probably have opinions on this. But hey, it is what it is. You have partnered with Zillow.
Correct. We were one of the first offices.
Which again proves. Again, you always having your finger on the trigger. Amazing. You guys are doing this to sort of provide those solutions, add benefits to your agents. Just tell us more about this. What's it going to, there's the question. What is it going to do for the agents? How is it going to help them make more money?
Well, for starters, having been involved with the brand in the U.S. and bringing it into Canada, I made some really good connections and relationships with the U.S. And I reached out to them and I talked to a lot of our offices and said, hey, how's the relationship? How does it work? What has it helped? And we received far more positive feedback than negative. We've been anticipating their arrival in Canada, and I think it's a good thing. I think Realtor.ca now has got its own challenges to up their game as well. It's a different type of structure than the Zillow structure because it's a volunteer organization for grassroots members. But nonetheless, it forces them to up their game. And now Zillow coming into this, from a broker perspective, I always look at this. I'm getting favorable responses from our U.S. operations, from many of the brokers. Do they want another player in the field? No. The truth is, we would all love to stay the way things were.
Yeah.
But the reality is that they're here. They're not going away. They're going to play in our game, and they do it very well. So from a broker perspective, I look at this and say, okay, so what do my agents want? What gives them a competitive edge or an advantage when they're on listing opportunities, when they're competing? Because I think there can't be anything worse than an agent going on a listing presentation and finding out they lost it because they listed it with a company that was going to give them wider exposure by posting their listing on Zillow. So I believe that our responsibility when we list a property is to give this broader reach to as many clients as possible, as many faces to see those listings for that seller. From a broker perspective, I look at it that it's my responsibility as a broker to put that in front of my agents and discuss with them the pros and the cons. And when we brought Zillow in, what I told my agents was, I said, this has to be a unanimous decision. I said, we'll discuss it, we'll talk about it. And we had some people who had some serious questions and doubts about the partnership. And we brought Zillow in. They answered all of our questions because there's a lot of misinformation that is being put out there by people with their own agendas. And sometimes people don't realize that when they're listening to comments. They think that these people are being neutral, but they're not. They have their own agendas to feed. And when the presentation was given to our people, all the information was put out there. We overwhelmingly felt that this was a value add that we could provide to our sellers in reaching more markets in a bigger scale. And we saw some of the AI technology that's coming down the pipe, and they just launched 3D Home, and they're investing into what they're providing. So I think from a broker perspective, it helps my agents. If it puts an extra deal in the pocket of each one of my agents this year, then I've achieved what my goal is to help my agents grow and make more money. So that's why I'm fine with Zillow. They've been a good partner to us, and quite honestly, everything that they've said, they have delivered on. We have seen no issues with them on. They've been, and they're going to be in here again this week talking to our people on demonstrating the new 3D Home. We're comfortable with the relationship. We enjoy working with them, and they're just a part of the change that's happening. You can't pull back, and it's funny to see how some of the industry heads have kind of rallied together to put this last stand into stopping them, which is like, okay, so industry heads did you ever sell a house? Do you know what it's like for an agent in the field when they're looking at their arsenal of tools and you've just limited them? How does that look when you're rallying with someone else against some of these people coming into the industry, and then you go and you partner with one yourself that does everything that you just said was bad about the first one? So I think this now is a decision that needs to be made at a broker level, not at a brand level. And hopefully the brands will support that. Some do, some don't. Ours, Sherry Chris, and I guess maybe because Sherry was a salesperson in the industry and has been very active and forward thinking. She launched Lifestyle Brand Thinking in 2008 with the brand when everyone else said it was going to go away. She understands it, and she sees that there's a place for it, and we have a good relationship with that. And it started to generate business for us. So we're okay with that.
And I guess, I mean, there's the bottom line, right? When it all comes back down to why we get up every day, if it's generating business, I guess, how do you sit back and go, nah, we don't want it.
Yeah.
Right? Now, in terms of wider reach from that, and I'll kind of keep it minute here, basic, because some people that don't quite understand it as fully, but in terms of wider reach, so listing goes up on realtor.ca. People see it.
Well, for us, our feed is through the Toronto Real Estate Board. So once we feed it, put our listing on the Toronto Real Estate Board, the feed picks up and it goes automatically to Zillow within a couple hours. It's like almost instant, like up there. Whereas with Korea, sometimes we could take 24 hours to see our listings go up.
So is that one of those big benefits right there? Is that what it is?
Absolutely. Okay. First to market is always, and any business, show me a business that says first to market is a bad thing.
Okay. So it's got to do with speed.
It helps with speed. It gives them, there's additional functionality. They have the 3D Home now, so that now the agents can use that tool when they're listing properties as the pictures in the inside home. And one thing that Zillow mentioned, and I know it probably doesn't sound very much, but they're saying, and it's a valid point because I see it in my own household now, those mobile devices are now connecting with those 4K TVs, right? Zillow allows us to put much higher resolution pictures into their system. We can put our own our files in there, much larger files that we can use through traditional MLS systems. And we know that consumers want to look at if you got a 4K TV, do you want a cheap picture taken, look at the inside of a house with a cheap picture taken with a phone camera that's out of focus? Or do you want to see what that costs? So these are all factors that affect how that consumer is going to view. And I don't have recent numbers for Canada yet. I'm hoping to get them this week. But I know that overall in North America, you've got 180 million unique viewers to this. Why would you say no to that platform when it doesn't cost anything to the agent? Why would a broker say no to that? Why would a brand leader say no to that and handicap any of their people in the field?
Okay, so now I'm a homeowner. I am looking for a new home. My mind always has gone realtor.ca. Is this suggested that now the mind of the consumer or the homeowner has turned into looking, let me check Zillow as well. Let me check Zillow instead. Is it Zillow pops up first before realtor.ca? What is the likelihood that I am not, or that I'm going away from my traditional search?
Well, there's a couple answers to your question. Number one, on new construction, and I just found out about this in the last couple of days, they're going to be launching a new construction portion of Zillow. So for companies with new construction, they're going to be putting that onto there. So that's an added benefit to them as well that they're going to be doing. Whether or not they're going to overtake realtor.ca, I think is an irrelevant argument. The person who's going to make that decision is going to be that consumer who's surfing online and will use the tool that'll be the fastest at loading picture, having the best high quality experience for them, and get them the information they want on communities, schools, parks, all of those things, which now realtor.ca. Now, I have to say, realtor.ca had much more time to prepare for it than realtor.com did in the US. And I hope realtor.ca continues to remain competitive. I have a lot of friends who are in the boards and associations, and I know they work hard to keep it competitive, and I applaud them because they're volunteers who take a tremendous amount of flack, work hard for the industry. But it's a volunteer type of basis, whereas for someone like a Zillow who come in and they have hundreds, if not thousands of staff working to improve that experience. So who will end up being first? I don't think it matters. I think all that matters is they both drive good experiences, and whoever ends up first or second, it doesn't matter. The consumer wins.
And I think what I'm boiling down to, and forgive me as you see me here, is either checking monitors, checking comments, or writing notes, because I love learning from you, man. I'm taking from this whole thing is the user experience is probably going to be more, it's going to be a better user experience for the user on Zillow rather than realtor.ca. When we talk about speed to getting the listings up there, so how quickly can I see stuff, the high resolution photos, there's no cost for me, the homeowner, or the agent to use it. At this
stage, correct.
So, I mean, at this point right now, it's user experience would be the real boil down on that, right?
But doesn't that always drive it? If you have a bad experience,
oh my God. That's anything.
An alternative, and this one gives me a bad experience, I'm going to go to the second one.
That's going to a restaurant. That's flying on a plane. That's anything in life. I'm with you a million. Hey, when I bought my car, I don't know, a couple of years ago now, I knew which car I wanted, but the dealership that I chose, who sold the exact same car, I chose one over the other because of experience.
Totally. And I think we will continue to be. I think who's feeling that now is the brands now are feeling it, in the sense that they used to be able to say, put up the flag and this brand now is thing, but their experiences haven't delivered based on their identity. And I think that's why we're seeing some more independents pop up into the Canadian marketplaces, because we're heavily franchised. I think you're seeing more boutiques. Like, I consider us as Better Homes and Gardens more of a boutique office that provides a higher level of service and experience that's relative to our brand. But at the end of the day, it still comes down to the people in my office. And they know that a higher level of expectation is set for them on what they deliver, staying in touch with those clients, following up with them. But it goes all the way up the industry, right up to the search engine. So Zillow is a household name in the U.S. They know it, and we being adopters of U.S. programming, Game of Thrones, all the other series and stuff people are watching, Netflix. They're in their stories, so it will be part of our culture, whether we like it or not. So, what are you fighting for? What are you creating issues around? Why are you deceiving agents and brokers about what's going on? Tell the truth. This is the reality. Now, if you choose not to do it, but a broker should be able to make that decision at their local level and not be hindered for that. Because all of those things benefit ultimately who? The consumer.
Wow, buddy. I hope the guys from Zillow are all watching going, Nelson, you're the man. Because you know what? I've got a hard time. And again, people may not like to hear this or not. Maybe I don't care. But I haven't got much of a position on it because, again, and just I'm not an active selling real estate agent, right?
But that's a good thing because at least you're open to discussion and you ask.
That's the thing, and that's what I'm loving.
That's admirable.
Because what you're and I mean, look, not actively selling, but I think you know, and I'm hoping a lot of people here know, my ears to the ground right there in the industry with you guys, just as much as the people that are working it every single day. I mean, I'm right there beside them, shoulder to shoulder. And so when I look at this conversation, which I have heard many times, whether it's been in a room as I'm about to go on stage and they're talking about it beforehand, or through the interwebs, it is a big hot topic. And I think some of the or all the points you just made on that, when I boil it all down, I go user experience. And then I love the fact that you brought up the whole, Game of Thrones, Netflix, this, that, in the States, how we sort of piggyback on some of that stuff up here. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's a great argument to sit back and say to people, guys, I mean, I'm going to sit here today and I hope I don't get haters for it, and even if I do, whatever. Who cares? But it's a great argument. Anyhow, I want to move on that because there's something else that you've been up to that to me is really, really awesome. I think it's voice marketing, the wave of the future right now. And I say right now because we have no idea what's around the corner. And we do know that although people should be incorporating video into their marketing strategy so that it helps them build mind share, and we've heard a lot about video and people touting video, voice is simply so much easier to create and to consume, right? And so when you look at that and say, it's easier to create, it's easier to consume. If I really just piggyback off what we just talked about, Zillow, the experience is a lot easier. And unfortunately, human nature, we for some reason always want the easier path. We don't like hard, right? So again, that idea of it's just easy. But you've partnered with a company in the US to provide that search capability on both Amazon and Google Home. Please tell us more about this. What is this all about? What's the deal there? And for those that are listening in, sorry, else, Amazon, Google Home, those are those little pucks, those things that are listening in. Personally, I have not got one at home. I think Big Brother's always listening. I am an Android. That hockey puck right there. I play with that thing on the ice. That's about as far as I'm going to that thing. Because it's always listening. And it's funny because, I was sitting with somebody the other day, it was an iPhone, and he said something about Siri, and all of a sudden the thing woke up. Well, I had my phone on lock, and I said, hey, Google, and Google kept sleeping. So I like the fact that my phone locked, didn't bring up Google. But these things do that. And as much as I'm still totally against having one of these things in my home, I have been around people's homes that I think it's cool. I was at a buddy's house. We were doing a bonfire like a couple of months ago, barbecue. And from outside, he yelled at the thing and whatever, hey, Amazon or whatever it's called, Alexa, turn on Led Zeppelin or something, and bang, Zeppelin turned on. And I went, okay, that's cool. Like that's just cool. But I mean, from controlling lights to smart home to whatever.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
No.
You woke up my Alexa and she's saying she's going to play Spotify music.
You see, I'm not even at your office.
Led Zeppelin from Spotify.
Hey, Alexa, play the Mindshare podcast.
Now you've confused her.
Yeah. My dog, I love it. You see?
Alexa off.
That's the crazy part about it. So I'm curious to know now. Let's take this back to a real estate thing because I think we could have a lot of fun on this one. But tell us more about this. What are you doing
Alexa
with this?
off.
See, they get a little disobedient too.
Yeah. I may have to unplug her. She gets excited when she hears her name.
what are you doing to bring this? You've brought this in. I'm curious to know around the infrastructure, not the back end little tricks of the trade, but
Yeah.
you brought it in. How did you implement? Why? Again, benefit to the agents. What's the deal around this? Because again, voice search is so new to people.
Well, and I think we're early in the adoption of this.
Oh my God, are you ever, man?
I
think this is
really
phenomenal.
early in this, but it's a good time to position yourself. And I'd love to take credit for this, but as I told you, I'm not that smart, just very stubborn. And so a friend of mine, Miguel Berger in the U.S., who runs a U.S. office, a BHG office, and had a lot of tech background, set around not to create. There's a lot out there that are voice assistants. And to do certain functions, but to create an actual voice-activated search that they can search listings. So there's a fundamental difference between just, looking for the music or that kind of stuff and actually doing a physical search. There's a total different setup and costs and things involved with that. So what Miguel set up Voister Pro in the U.S., and they've been very successful down there. And he reached out to me and he goes, I'd like to bring this into Canada. Can we work together to bring this into Canada? Well, it puts us as another first in Canada ahead of all the brands and industry. So I thought, you know what? Okay, get another thing for my agents to be able to say, hey, we're the first with this type of thing. And so what we said about from the Canadian perspective is once I looked at numbers for where this is going in the future that this holds, because I think it's going to explode in the next 3 to 5 years, whether it's self-driving vehicles. I think this voice activation, all of these things are coming. And all I did is facilitate that working in Canada, providing the MLS feed to it to be able to sort it so that when someone asks to do a search on it, it'll pull up all the listings, emails the client the listings. Literally someone can be sitting, if they're in Mississauga, right, they can be sitting at their on their sofa and ask for what's available in a certain price range. With Soul Data now coming out, I'm sure that soon that will be available. But what we wanted to test it on was more our market here in the Mississauga area, and we have it now working. So if someone is on Alexa and they want to do a search of Mississauga real estate, they just ask it to search. Now, they have to load a skill into the app. It's called Mississauga Real Estate, and then it will search all the listings that are currently available in the system on your mobile device, on your Alexa unit at your home. But I'm now seeing even these units used in offices, all tagged together for the music, for entertainment. It's starting to really take off. But my position with that was simply we're at the beginning of something that I think it will definitely be the future. The hands off on your mobile devices when you're driving. The new laws are stringent. So now I text and call just using voice in my car. You're forced into that because the law says you cannot drive around with it in your hand.
Yeah. So
the laws are pushing things into that direction. Consumers are more comfortable now doing voice search. And I think that will just continue to grow. Actually, if I could share with you some numbers.
Yeah.
Deloitte, a Canadian firm, predicts the smart speaker rise in Canada. This is a report that came out in 2018, and these numbers are sobering. In 2018, 98 million units were sold. In US, 7 billion in 2019. So 2018, 98 million units were sold. A year later, 164 million units were sold, and the 64% growth rate will make smart speakers the fastest growing connected device category in 2019 with a global installed base of over 250 million units.
Wow.
It's massive. And
wow.
I don't think people fully understand it.
Well, what was the number you just said for Canada?
Canada, hold on. Here, I've actually got a better breakdown. There's, if you're interested, there's a blog called alexaincanada.ca where they have, this gentleman posts all the information. So in 2017, there were 1.3 million Canadians who used a smart speaker at least once per month.
But 2018 number you said.
2018, it jumped to just under 4 million people, or 10%. And in 2019 so far, 5.8 million people are using smart speakers here in Canada. That's 15% of the Canadian.
That's where I was going with that, right? Like,
yeah.
let's put in perspective. It's only 36 million people here in the country.
Exactly.
Right?
And interestingly enough, there, a lot of the technology is, we're growing. Canada, Australia, and Germany are growing at about a rate of, I believe, about 10% a year, which will add another 10% to this by next year. And once you hit the 30-40% of Canadian homes having it, it's inevitable that it'll be across the board and everyone will be using it.
Okay, so now there's in terms of the training around that, I mean, that's I guess a little bit more isolated right now to your group at your office for how they can get out there and they can create their Alexa skills. So not necessarily to jump into that so much at the moment, because I think we could go total tangent there into, and look here, I will do this very quickly for anybody. This being a podcast, right? We're recording video, we're recording audio. So we are leveraging both of those channels exactly right now. I'm going to have a recording of this. So not only are we live, but I'm going to be able to put it up on my YouTube just for extra content and be able to rip this out. And this audio cast will go out on Friday morning, syndicated across Google, Amazon, and everybody else. And now people with smart speakers will be able to listen into this stuff just by saying, hey, Alexa, play the Mindshare podcast, right?
Yep.
So we're leveraging the technology for it. And a lot of people said, what does it take to get a podcast going? What does it take to get on this whole voice thing? And like, guys, what does it take? It takes this thing right here. And if you've got a set of these earbuds, you can literally record podcasts, you can record audio, you can do voice, you can do it all, okay? Now, you want to get a little bit more intricate with that, you want to find out how to create an Amazon skill, Google how to create an Amazon skill, and it'll teach you how to do that. And I just not to eat up today's time with that, but much the same. I mean, yeah, so I went out and got a little bit of a fancier microphone, and I got a editing software, so I've sort of really gotten into it because we're ripping this stuff and we're doing it consistently. So there's a way to do that. So, I mean, that's the how. And again, not to dig into that today, but when I talk about how the buyer benefits and how the seller benefits and how the agent benefits from this, I'm going to take it from what I think I just grabbed from you is the idea that voice is a lot easier. If we come back to experience, like we talked about the Zillow thing, the experience of it. Hey, you want to talk about laziness? You don't even have to get your ass up off your chair.
That's right.
Talk and things will come up. You don't even have to press buttons. You can just say something and things will happen. To me, that's probably the biggest benefit. It's another source of value, knowledge, education, information. It's another way to get that. And it's just a much easier way to consume. And I've said this before, like, what do I love about the podcast? I can listen to it while I'm driving. I can listen to it while I'm exercising. I can listen to it while I'm mowing the lawn. Like, you can listen anywhere. Video, it's not as easy to consume video. And again, I love video. I'm not going to stop video. And I don't think anybody should. And if you're doing it, keep doing it. But video is not as easy to consume as voice. So does it come back to, for the buyer, the seller, and the agent, this is simply about experience and getting your information across?
It's providing another source of that information. Someone may never search for it online. That's fine, but they now have the choice for it in the Mississauga marketplace. Now, if someone wants to take on other markets, you can reach out. I don't have anything to do with that. You can reach out to Miguel directly at Voister Pro, because those markets, I believe, are still open up. But from my perspective, it's about giving them choice. And that if consumers are searching in Mississauga, they're going to, and they want to search using one of those devices, then they'll come up on our screen, and that will generate a lead that comes into our lead gen. So that's
now it comes back to process about what we're going to do to convert. So love that as well. Let's be very clear, especially for the agent that's listening right now. This is just another channel to get your message across. This is simply like Nelson said it with newsletters, be it email, direct mail. This is like making the phone call. This is like using Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and YouTube, and Amazon, and Google. That's what this is. So it's not go and change your world today to go and start doing voice marketing. And when I say change your world, I mean give up everything else and kind of chase the squirrel to voice marketing. It's not. But it is about that idea of you going, this is another way to get my message across. And you know what? There's a lot of people, based on even what you just said, Nelson, like there's a lot of people joining into this whole thing these days, and it's going to keep growing in terms of our homes. Why wouldn't I be there, especially as an early adopter?
Yeah, and there's something else I point out with this as well, which gets back to our early conversation where technology is now moving faster than the brands, right? Yep. This wasn't a brand initiative. This was a person who can maneuver quickly, make decisions at that, invest whatever capital, the venture capital needs to be put into that, and can move with that. Again, we have another example of these things moving faster than the big brands are able to keep up. Now that may change, and I hope, and that's fine if it does. And it's not a reflection on being bad or good. It's just saying that the technology component of our industry right now is moving much faster than anyone can keep up with. And that will be the challenge. Will they be using voice act in 2-3 years? I absolutely believe that we're going to be using voice for everything, right? These things recognize our nuances in our voice. Siri adapts to it. These devices adapt to it. You're going to be walking, and this is already happening where you're walking into homes, and this connects with the Internet of Things, right? And I hate to take this down that road, but now you're literally, does anybody use a security system anymore when you got a Ring doorbell and you can see a video of the guy coming in? People are walking into these devices and saying, hey, I'm home, turn on the lights, open. So it's not in itself alone as a solution, as it's going to be interconnected with everything else.
But isn't that the way our business works with everything we do? I mean, this is just another look. Voice is, yes, the tech is there. Yes, it's going. I'm with you. I believe that as we keep going, it's going to have a lot more control over our homes. That could be the fearful part about the robots invading, and we could go down that road in a storybook one day. But,
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It is a big part of it. That said, again, it's just another part of it. It's not the be all and end all.
Exactly. Not to be afraid of. It's not going to revolutionize the world. It's just part of the growth and evolution and change of being who we are.
And hey, again, you want to be there early. You want to integrate. You want to take advantage. Get in. Do it.
Yeah.
And again,
and if you don't, that's okay too.
Exactly. Right. And if you're going to have the right process for what you're going to do to make it work, because remember something, again, just like many other things, just like this podcast today, all we're doing is putting some value out there for people. It doesn't mean the entire world's going to suck it up. It doesn't mean the entire world's going to agree with it. But you know what? It's there. And if they do search for it, they will find it.
Exactly.
Now we're building mindshare.
There you go.
Nelson, buddy, this has been, we could go and go and go. And you know what? I say that very often, but I think that in many of the conversations we've run into over times, whether we bump into each other in person, the tangents keep going. And I absolutely love the conversation. I really, really, really thank you for all this today, man.
Well, and thank you for your friendship. I enjoyed the conversation, and we keep exploring new horizons with these things because they keep changing. But from my perspective, I think it's an exciting time to be in real estate. It may be exhausting keeping up, but I think it's awesome. Things that are out there right now, as long as they're used in a constructive, focused way to achieve an end and in a cost-effective approach, I think you leverage what you could leverage.
Couldn't agree with you more, man. Tell me, so where can people find you? How can people get in touch with you? If they've got any questions about anything we talked about today, what's the best place to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I have my Facebook page online, Nelson Goulart, if you'd like to contact me through there. My office is in Mississauga. It's a Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Signature Service office by Square One, 186 Robert Speck Parkway. My phone number here is 905-896-4622. If any of you would like to talk about what we've been talking about here, would love to have a coffee with you, because this is the fun stuff I find exciting and what's coming around the corner.
And I can certainly attest to that. He's an amazing, amazing person to have a conversation with around all this stuff, as was evidenced today. So again, thank you very much for making the time today.
Always a pleasure.
So you either listen to this on iTunes, Google Podcast, Stitcher, or Spotify. Or maybe you went to industrysyndicate.com or even mindshare101.com. Wherever you like to consume your content, please rate, review, and subscribe. And if you haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook at Mindshare101 and on Instagram at DavidGreenspan101. This has been another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. Thanks everyone for listening.